Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trident Talks. This is going to be a really exciting episode for me personally. I'd like to welcome Guy Golan, who is co-founder and now chairman of Performanta. How are you doing, Guy?
I'm great. Nice to be here, Charlie. Great to be here. Exciting.
Better to be back. You just come back from a trip from the Arctic or something, right?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Northern Lights, dog sledding, snowmobiling, ice, good Norwegian people, and some sauna and jacuzzi. You can't go wrong, right?
No, yeah, exactly. I'm jealous, very jealous. But that's not why we're here today. For those that I don't want to spoil it, but there's some really exciting things we're going to be discussing today. I think what you guys are doing is really exciting, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to actually jump on this session and give you a platform to kind of talk about it. So, for those that don't know who you and Performanta are, would you like to just kind of give a bit of overview into yourself and the business?
Yeah, with the greatest of pleasure. I'm the co-founder, the chairman of Performanta, and 15 years old in 2 months from now. It's not a baby anymore. It has its own will and probably some teenage as well growth is part of the idea. The company was formed as a sole cybersecurity organization through a process of VAR, professional services, consulting, managed services. We landed into a slot of innovation. It all came from a deep understanding of the cybersecurity market throughout the years, understanding how it shifted from more defense into the offense, and now the combination of both. And realization of almost 5 years ago that the market is truly sick. People spend money in places that they don't need. People consume in areas that they can't explain. The board is still detached while they are more realizing what's happening in the cyberspace. So something had to really challenge that and bring all of it together. And hopefully, with what we've built, and hopefully with the way we serve the market, we are responding to that and curing that type of sickness that, in my view, is even worse than the pandemic itself.
Okay, that's really interesting. And more often than not, with successful businesses, it's not just reliant on the passion of the founder, right? It's always you've got the wider team and the wider community, but it's clear you've got a lot of passion for the business. Um, so high level overview, what is the business? What does it do?
So Performanta is a managed security services, and as one described it, and I love that, we are an MDR cubed. So manage, detection, response, remediate, and resilience all put into one place. So we have the ability to detect what's happening in organizations, but not only contain if an incident occurs, but also to have hands on keyboard with what I call master mechanic, diving in, fixing the problem as we go along so it doesn't reoccur. That also allows us to be very preemptive and risk focused in understanding where the risk is, business risk and cyber risk, and try and prevent things from happening. So as a managed services orientation company, we have the ability not only to respond reactively, but also be very proactively. And the whole idea behind that through the innovation is reduce the chances of being breached by over 70%.
Well, it's a high number. And we could talk, it's very interesting for an MDR firm to be able to kind of do reactive and then kind of proactive stuff. I think I don't want to kind of skate over the reactive stuff. What I'd really like to kind of talk through is, well, the Encore product,
Yes.
which I sat on, or me and the team sat on the demo, which you kindly organised a short while ago. And then I came away from that without spoiling it, thinking, why isn't anyone using this? Because if I was in the industry, it would probably be really helpful for me. Would you like to give some insight into what Encore is and how it came about?
100%. So Encore is an attack surface management on steroids. It's our own homegrown technology. Got quite a lot of accolades and awards, both by RSA Security and Gartner. The whole idea behind Encore, as we built it, is to create a transition from influx of data in real time through information to context to allow people to make the right decision to prevent them from being breached or causing any potential breach around them. As an example, or I'm not going to talk about the details yet, I know we're going to dive into that, but as an example, I always ask people, say, if I'm telling you that this building is going to collapse tomorrow, would you ever send people to that building? And the answer is no. So my question is, how come 100 people died?
Mhm.
So people are not aware of what's happening. When you ask a CISO, and I've got no finger pointing at CISO, in fact, we try to make the life a lot easier than what it is. You ask them, how many users have you got? And you always, not hardly or seldom, you always hear the following: roughly 10,000, roughly 20,000. But actually, you need one rogue user
Mhm.
to collapse the entire building. So they have no ability to have telemetry that is so accurate and so contextualized to make the decision. They are juggling so many security controls, 15, 20, 25 of those without connection. In the organization, there's also fragmentation between the different departments, and they don't talk a full story. Not only that, they have no ability to pass it on to the board to truly understand the magnitude of what's happening and then hook them in on the journey. That's what Encore does. It basically brings all the data together in real time, wrap it in a way that there's very good information, and then dashboards and context to allow you to deal with situations both reactively and proactively, as close to real time as possible, and avoid potential breaches even before they occur.
I think your point around there's just so much going on, being able to identify exactly how many users you have, or even endpoints really within a
Mm.
business, because there's a unique element of the tool, right, which essentially maps out your entire network within seconds, endpoints, etc., and paints a nice picture for it. I'm sure we can release some screenshots later.
Sure.
Yeah, I regularly speak to executives, and they say, oh, after 6, 7, 8 months, or even like 2 years, we found a bunch of endpoints hidden away somewhere in some office in some country. So the ability to actually have a tool, and I think it's probably really useful for executives who are just going into a business and they're just starting that whole discovery phase, right? Because essentially, what it's going to do, you roll it out, maps your entire environment, no matter what technologies that the business is using, consolidates it all, puts it right in front of everyone, and cross-references everything and tells you everything that you need to do, right?
Spot on. Giving you a few examples about pain areas. So one that you mentioned 100% is that, okay, how many machines? So there's a bank that we went and did the discovery, and they said, oh, in that region, there are about 9,000 users. And we go back and we say, you've got more than 17,000. Now, their MSSP is managing only 9,000. And the reality is that they've got 17,000. So 8,000 extra machines are not being managed, which means they've got, forget about the fact that you locked two doors. You've got now the entire back of your house is fully open. Or another example, that passwords, people have passwords, never changed. We detect it in seconds. We have the longest that we had is 25 years. Password never changed. Now, don't get me wrong. The whole idea of password never change is not, oh, I detected password never changed. Now I'm going to change it. Someone saw it before, but they never change it because there is a business limitation. It can, bring the business down, or there's a fear or any of that. But what other security controls do you build around it to ensure that that password never changed is protected enough? We have ability to see it with a click of a button. Are you adding more layers of defense around it, and so on? Another use case, patch management. If there is a vulnerability and the CISO, who's the one making the decision to actually run the patch, goes to their team, normally it's the security team that runs the patch, they install the patch within a day or two or three if it is something that is urgent. But nobody really pays attention to how long it takes to reboot the server for that patch to take effect. If you ask a CIO, and that's their responsibility to order the reboot of the servers, their KPI is not security. Their KPI is uptime and cost saving. So if now you tell them, reboot 900 servers, they will tell you you're smoking something. It takes a month, 3 months to reboot the server. Now, fine. But if I go now to the CIO and the CISO and say, of the 900 servers, you need to install the patch on every one of them, fine. But only 5 of those are high criticality. You need to reboot the servers on those 5. The other 895, I'm going to send an instruction to the SOC, to the MDR provider, and say, elevate monitoring for the next month or 3 until it's rebooted, and then you are much safer than ever before. How many do that? Actually, none. You by one day of installing Encore, you create a level that you reduce the chances of being breached so much because you eliminate security theater, talking theoretically about security, and deal with the stressing point built by a bunch of people that have 15, 20 years of experience of dealing with some nasty attacks, nation state, highly malicious, or just mistakes that happen, and put it all together. You want to hear about another interesting one? We have a client, Fortune 100, um, and the CISO goes, I can't deal with vulnerability management. I've got like 50,000, 70,000 vulnerabilities at any given time. My team, all they do is just continue doing one after the other, after the other. I've got no solution. Now, most organizations, whether they are small or large, they've got minimum two vulnerability management solutions. One by the EDR, and the other one they buy an extra one, whether it is, Tenable, Nessus, Qualys, Rapid7, and so on. Question to you, how many times do you think the two vulnerability management solutions are contradicting one another in terms of a certain vulnerability?
I'd probably say something silly like 80, 90% of the time.
Yeah, close to 100. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely the case. So if that is the case, first, how do you make a decision? Secondly, how do you truly manage 50,000 vulnerabilities to 70,000? The maximum we saw is over 1 million at any given time. So by understanding what vulnerability truly is, understanding what the risk truly is, because we truly understand that, we managed to create, with our sense of preemptive and heuristics that we put in place on, I think, 13 different dimensions, 25, 30,000, 100,000 vulnerabilities, narrowed down to 50 to 100 that are most important for this time to deal with them. And let's remind everybody that see this show, vulnerability is something that is a risk that hasn't yet been materialized. It's not an incident. So by doing that, we are reducing the chance of being hacked or breached dramatically. And the last one I'll give you, how many use their email, their work email, for other stuff? Whether it is an airline, whether it is, cinema, whether it is Walmart or whatever that is. Well, many of them. How many of those organizations are being breached and their username and password are now out there in the open? Well, many as well. So if I'm a hacker and I understand the modus operandi of the offensive people, the first thing they'll do is to see where are the low-hanging fruit. If I know that Guy Golan has the following password and he carries the email of Performanta, then the first thing I'll try is that email and password. Now, I might not get Guy because he's managed very well, but I might get the second person or the third person or the 100th person in Performanta, and guess what? I'm in. If I get that and I monitor that, but not only, I can see what systems that individual, Guy Golan, is touching within Performanta. And I can now see if those systems are resilient enough or not in real time. And I can then, if not, I can truly go and change something very quickly. Am I reducing the attack surface dramatically? Yes or no?
No.
That's what Encore does. And I gave you just 5 examples out of many.
I mean, it's pretty cool. So it's got the ability to also go on like an individual basis rather than like a business wide
Yeah.
scenario. Yeah,
It will have to eventually dive into the detail. So instead of us running a full query and then dive into the detail, I get into the point that I deal only with the important stuff at any given time. A great example, you remember the CrowdStrike outage?
yes. Yeah.
So
I'm so lucky I wasn't at an airport or something then, but okay, you were.
we've got over 60 CrowdStrike clients that we manage on managed services, and one of them is an airline. I'm not going to mention the airline's name. We detected at 5 a.m. GMT the attack, or the outage. It's not an attack, the outage that happened. By Encore can show you what we call report back to base. So we see level of compliance of every one of the tools that the clients are using, and we see it also collectively. All of a sudden, at 5 a.m. roughly, every one of our CrowdStrike clients, managed clients, dropped from their compliance to 0 in the same time. So we go say, okay, are we under attack? Are our rules bad? Is our SOC not right? That's the first thing you do. And no, everything is fine. We call CrowdStrike, well, there's a problem. We don't know what it is. But we have conversation. We figure out what needs to be done. That's 5 a.m. GMT. By 8 a.m. GMT, all of our clients were up and running, including an airline. Now ask yourself, are you a magician? Because you have to be in front of machines physically. Well, we're not magicians, but what we do, we understand what the problem is and how the solution goes. Normally, technicians, what they do, they get a list to fix stuff, right? If I generate for them a list of all machines from machine number 1 to machine number 10,000, they will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I change the filters and apply only on mission critical machines, first I reduce it from 10,000 to about 400. If I now hook HR and I know where each technician lives in which vicinity and go only to the areas that are mission critical, well, guess what? An airline can go and be up and running, a casino, hotel chain, all of those are clients of ours, were up and running within 3 hours, while knowing that there are another 6,000 machines that will take time to fix. And you'll have to go to them, but they're not mission critical.
Mm-hmm.
That's the power of Encore.
You should have started with that use case.
Yeah.
I was still worrying about the email address that hadn't had a password changed for 25 years. I thought that was my old social media account or something. But no, that's a brilliant use case. They all are, to be honest. And it's really interesting because I feel like we mentioned this before. When you first came up with the idea of the solution, the market wasn't, you felt, entirely ready for it, right?
Correct.
And I feel like now it is. There's a lot of consolidation within the market. People have gone out, they've bought additional tools. There's some great tools and vendors out there for sure. But some people just have too many. I was speaking to a client just beforehand. They've made profits year on year and year, end user. They've got all the tools. They're really, well, touch wood, they are secure. Now they're like, okay, well, let's stop being silly now. Let's consolidate. And this is where you, again, equally, this product could roll in and be like, cool, let's remap it out. Let's have a look, see what you've got, compare it all. And it's the same for someone right at the start of their journey, right? They go into an organization, they don't have a budget, and it's like, right, save you 6-12 months of a headache trying to map everything out. I mean, how quickly did you say it can get rolled out and you get full visibility of the network?
Maximum a day.
So yeah, I mean, I'll take.
So when we are called into an incident, it's deployed within minutes because the only thing it's agentless. Let's start with that.
Mhm.
Secondly, it doesn't need any hardware if it is in the cloud. If it requires, we just, you take a VM machine and you just give us, we install it there as a collector. All you need to do is give us read-only access. The moment that it's done, we collect information quickly, and the normalization and translation from data into information into context happens on the go.
Mhm.
So you get information very, very quickly. That assists us in quite a lot with IOCs. It assists us very much with understanding where to focus from a deployment point of view, as opposed to rebuild. I hate the word rebuild. Oh my goodness, so many companies that are under attack are rebuilding. They forget that when they rebuild, all the backdoors are still intact because they rebuild with the backdoors. Why can't you just on the go fix those elements? So and you mentioned about new people or new CISOs landing or CISOs landing into a new environment. You're absolutely right. They have no idea, and now they are inheriting something. Now, what that is and where they're putting their focus and how do they decide what to do first, second, third, that is relevant to the business, not because I read a book and because it was relevant to my previous organization. It has to be relevant to this organization because it might be Marks and Spencer and it can be Sainsbury's. Both are retailer, but they have different maturities, different areas of focus, different adoption time and rates, and different teams. So the environments are very different. Even if you were the CISO of Marks and Spencer, now you moved into Sainsbury's. It's not the same.
I think one of the key things here is it just saves time. Time is money. I always say to people, everyone within the business that tried and always laughs at me saying, well, time is the most valuable currency, because you
Sure.
can't, once you give it, you can't give it back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And it makes people's lives easier. And I'm a huge fan of that. And I mean, you've got some great use cases already. Yeah, I think it's really great what you guys are doing. What is there anything else you want to discuss about Encore that we haven't kind of covered?
I think the bottom line is you touched all the points, Charlie, and thank you for that. Those that use it love it. It requires a bit of an adjustment from the normal theatrical way of doing cybersecurity. Instead of having governance, risk, and compliance concepts, you're having operational governance and operational risk and operational compliance. You bring it down to truly managing things. Those that do that, their life become a hell of a lot easier. A hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. What made you obviously, so 15 years soon. Was there a critical point or a point where you remember you thought, right, okay, cool, I'm gonna be a founder. I'm gonna found something. Um, is there a certain event that happened or?
I'm very blessed with the fact that we have some very smart people in Performanta, and that is a silver lining from day one of the organization. Everyone that works for Performanta or left Performanta or engaged with Performanta admits to the power, the brain power of the organization and the people there. And the culture is allowing people to just make a sound and tell their opinions without being shut down. So the idea of Encore came about in 2017 when I said to my business partner then and our head of services in the US nowadays, and I said, I want a dashboard that gives the clients a smiley face, frowny face, and just idle face. This is what they've developed Encore to become today. It just chalk and cheese from that. They took it in their mind and developed something so great. And same goes, when we launched our MDR, I said, one client, one screen, one employee. That's how we're going to start. And I heard so many people telling me that it's impossible. Then one guy within the organization said, I'll do it. And he is today running our managed services of the organization. And he did it. So automation as well. I've got a vision. As you said, founder has lots of visions, and many founders without a vision cannot be founders. It's about whether the team underneath buys into it and they have the ability to really make a reality out of the vision. And I'm very blessed in that. So 2017 has been a defining moment for two reasons. One, because Encore really became from an idea to something. And secondly, is that in 2017, we realized that the entire world of installing and defending organization is absolutely smoke and mirrors. One of our business partners went and learned the offensive world in 2017, came back and he said, whatever we do means nothing. I can bypass McAfee, I can bypass Trend Micro. Microsoft was not even in sight at that time. And I said to him, I don't believe you. And he showed how he cracks everything in big organizations and small. And then at that point, we had to really sit down and say, are we a lifestyle business, which means we're going to sell as much, we're going to make as much money as possible, and then we'll see what goes, or there's a genuine purpose in what we do. And the concept of cyber safety started culminating and coming back to life or coming to life at that moment.
I love it. I don't think I saw a single emoji on the demo though, Guy. There wasn't a smiley face. I don't recall. So it's
I
obviously
know.
it's come on leaps and bounds. So yeah, I think that's testament, and the team that delivered the demo as well. Really impressed by. So I think it's great. I think the market needs to see it a lot more. Hopefully, you can kind of generate a lot more use cases across the industry. So I guess my advice to anyone either about to start in a new role needs to do a bit of discovery or any kind of consolidation or anywhere in between, reach out, have a demo of you guys, which will prevent quite a few headaches, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, and this is a great platform, Charlie. You know how much I appreciate you and your organization, and I'm very, very thankful to your honesty and the ability to truly make the time and take the time with you and your team, analyze what we do, and give us the truthful and honest feedback from your side. So I'm so happy to be here, and hopefully we can fix this sickness that exists in the world and stop selling for no reason.
Guy, I hope so too. I appreciate it. And thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Charlie.
Okay.